Hello, everybody. I hope everybody's good today. I'm supposed to be joined by Phil, with Phil. Hopefully he shows up. Maybe he didn't get my emails. I don't know. So bear with me. One second here. Sorry. There we are. What's up, Menza? How are you, buddy? 5 by 5. Right. So yeah, I guess I'll start out with a little read from the Bhagavad Gita. This is Divine Splendor, Chapter 10. Listen further, this is Krishna speaking. Listen further, Arjuna, to my supreme teaching, which gives you such joy, desiring your welfare, O strong armed warrior. I will tell you more. Here's my favorite line. Neither gods nor sages know my origin, for I am the source from which the gods and sages come. Whoever knows me as the Lord of all creation without birth or beginning knows the truth and frees himself from all evil. So what do you guys think of that? What's up, Dino? Code, what's up? Menza. Need to know, Sat Sun, what's up? What's up, what's up, what's up? Okay. Oh, there he is. Phil is here. Awesome. Phil is connecting his audio. Can't hear you. You got to unmute yourself.
There okay, can you hear me?
What's up, brother?
Hey, man. You're right.
Very nice to see you. Finally.
Yeah, nice to see you too, man. Cheers.
I'm glad you showed up, man. We're already live, so.
That's all right.
Yeah, I just read the line from the Bhagavad Gita, the Divine Splendor, where Krishna says, neither gods nor sages know my origin, for I am the source from which the gods and sages come. Yeah. Whoever knows me as the Lord of all creation without birth or beginning knows the truth and frees himself from all evil. That's right. My favorite line in that whole book right there.
That's exactly right. It's true. It's actually true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and before we start, Menza's got a question right off the bat. He says, Shuya Murti believes we are at the end of a Kali Yuga and the physical realm will meet its end. Then a new, better world will be born. What's your opinion on that?
Oh,
right off the bat.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You can't predict the future. You know, you can say it's probably going to be this or that, or make predictions through divination, but it's not going to cut the mustard in the end.
Right.
You know, you never know.
Right.
You never know, because there's all sorts of things that we don't know about when we ask these sorts of questions. There's all kinds of things we're not familiar with, maybe, you know, that make some sort of difference.
And is it not human nature to always think the end is nigh? And you know, yeah.
That's right. What about the year 2000? You know, everyone thought there was going to be a
right.
And then 2012.
Yep, it's always something.
Yeah,
always something. Well, even me, that when I seen the cross in the heavens, you know, that January 13th, 2020. Oddly enough, that's when COVID struck. You know, right. So you know, who knows?
But just to say something reasonable about that, I think the idea of saying there are stages in human development is reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and things do get better overall, and they get worse, and they get better. And there are envelopes to those things. There's a general rising and a general, you know, descending, as it were. But it depends on where we are in the world. That we've got technology now we never had 200 years ago.
Right.
300 years ago, that, you know, they were still fighting with basically sticks and stones and what have you, swords and shields, and, you know, up front. So things have changed, and the rules change accordingly.
Yeah, and you know, oddly enough, I've been watching the Ancient Aliens program a lot lately, and you know, they've been pointing to Mars and the structures on Mars and talking about that, which you've talked about in the past.
Yeah.
And the question occurred to me, you know, have we reached this level of technology in the past on this planet, or maybe on another planet? And you know, some cycle has rubbed us out, or the knowledge thereof. You know, and they found ooh parts, you know, 30 meters down underground next to mammoth bones. You know, like the wedge. I forget where it's at, but the wedge of, but it's this aluminum thing they found like right next to mammoth bones, 30 feet in the ground. You know, so, you know,
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I don't know
Yeah.
if you have any opinions on that, but God,
Yeah.
my wheels turning.
There are anomalous things that have been found over the years. Was it Lord Pi or something? You know, Lord Pi. I think he talks about stuff
Yeah,
like that.
I've heard.
Weird discoveries.
Yep.
I mean, what can you say? Some people try and explain it with time traveling.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, taking that into account, I mean, if you think about it, if you have a ship that is anti-gravitational, and it warps and bends space-time around you, if it's using that kind of thing, then it's controlling how much time passes as well. That there's a control over time. I don't know whether people. I don't think people are that familiar with this sort of idea in general.
Well,
They just
I've
think,
looked into it. I've looked into a couple of things that I forget his name, but he proposed the idea of that very what you just stated.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
could call them time machines as well in that sense, if that's their mode of propulsion. But you know, we can speculate on that all day. There is a way of getting around that doesn't manipulate time
Mhm.
like that. You know, I don't want to really go into that.
Yeah.
I don't. I'd rather not.
Right, right. But you wanted to talk about Jewish allegory and
Yeah.
monarchy and a couple other things. So why don't we get started with with whatever you'd want to
Yeah.
start with. But first, I want to ask you what this damn thing is called. Is this a tetractys? Is that what it's called?
That's a toroid.
A toroid, but I mean it's a certain toy. You've seen these before, right?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I know. I can't remember exactly what that title for
Yeah.
that is.
If for the life of me, I can't get it. I can't.
It's basically a torus.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's the geometry of pretty much our whole physical existence, right?
Yeah, self-referential geometry. That's right. Which involves topology, which is apparently a modern subject, but it goes back a long way. Topology. There was just no standardization for it, no formalization for it. You know? That's all.
Right. But it's so good to see you again, brother. How you been?
Yeah, thanks very much, man. I'm very good. I'm just cracking on. I'm writing another book, you know, about Jewish allegory, funnily enough, which is partly why I wanted to talk about it.
Awesome.
Because you know, when you look at YouTube, you see new videos uploaded all the time in the subject matters that you're interested in, you know.
Mhm.
And most people who post videos about this sort of stuff, like King Solomon,
Yes.
even the Jews, even rabbis, will talk about Solomon as if he's a real person, because the story of Solomon is like an example of an illuminate who is a king.
Mhm.
So what I don't think people realize, all the different books in the Old Testament especially are basically looking at illuminates. They're personifying an illuminate who is in a certain predicament or situation, so they can cover. It's like a learning manual. The Bible, I find it as a learning manual for illuminates, and it's not very good for initiates.
No, I can
It's
agree with
it's a book for illuminates, because only somebody like that would recognize what's being written, and it's full of lessons for you to recognize exactly what's going on. So with Solomon, he deals with demons a lot, and he gets demons and angels to build his temple and all this sort of thing. But you know, it's just a story to tell you what's going on in the process of gaining illumination and post illumination as well.
And the Bible is essentially a humanized spiritual story, so we can take levity in it, I guess, or maybe so it would stand the test of time, right? So
It's so we can
throw it away, right?
Well, it's so we, in the human sense, can relate to what's divine. It helps us relate to it by personifying it, you see.
You're personifying it. That's what I meant.
Yeah, yeah. You need to personify it, so that we need to be able to relate to the person that they're talking about as if they're a person. So if we're reading about Solomon, we'll think, well, this guy became a king. He reigned, what, 40 years? And he died. And
Number 40.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, there's all these facts and figures about his reign and his life and what he was like and all this sort of thing. But what you've really got there is the exposition of a typical illuminate who would become a king, the kind of things he'd come up against. And just in Revelations, you find there's a lot of externalization in the story of internal issues.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that. So with Solomon, you'll hear the thing about reigning for 40 years. I'm going to read some bits and pieces that I've got up here about him, because there's all sorts of stuff said about him that just give it away as well as an allegorical story. Where is it? Here, let me just go up a little bit. I looked him up on Wikipedia first a while back, and it's just full of these little hints and tips that something's going on in his story that's kind of automatic and part and parcel of what is Jewish allegory, and how they code things and how they communicate to you through numbers as well and through ideas.
So the idea of the Bible being like a code is actually true.
Yeah, basically it is true. Yeah, it's an allegorical code, the Bible, and it's all allegorical.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And we as humans, like we were talking about earlier, like the question is this world going to come to an end and yada, yada, yada. We tend to latch onto the physical stories like Cain and Abel killing his brother and all this and that, and, and the evil of it all. And
yeah,
people like to spit in the face of the Bible because they think it's evil because they're latching onto the physical side of the story, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of misunderstanding about references to God as well, because often in the Old Testament, the word God is being used to refer to the creative principle,
mm-hmm.
Who is in fact the devil.
Yes.
So
it is what it is, principle of the light is what.
Yeah, and it's only the devil because it's the most indifferent object there can be. It's totally indifferent. The truth doesn't care whether you know the truth or not. It'll simply be the truth. You see what I'm saying?
And that's the flail of the Egyptian sarcophagus, which will berate you with the truth, regardless if you like it or not.
Yeah. I mean, the truth treats everybody the same way. It doesn't. There's no favoritism.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that's right. It is what it is.
Right.
So yeah,
while you're looking for that, I want to tell you a quick story of a recent thing. I did a live stream with Allie Berry the other day, just catching up with her and talking with her. She's just full of energy. She's an awesome person, good singer, whatnot, yada yada yada. But I got into talking about Stan Tenon's work. And the flame in the tent and the meeting tent and oddly enough, the very next day, I shit you not, they posted a video and it was like front and center to me, and they have him on the Mural Foundation. I think Stan's long gone. I think he passed away a while back, but they posted a video on the Mural Foundation the next day, man. And I'm subscribed and I get all their notifications, and it was like, wow. And it's just another example to me how the universe finds the truth for you and presents it if you're really looking for it.
Yeah, that sounds like a sort of coincidental synchronicity or correspondence there.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? That you're thinking of something, and the following day it turns up.
That's happened between me and you several times too. Yeah,
that's right.
It's pretty awesome, and that's I think when you really truly seek the truth, it really finds you.
Yeah, because your intention kind of guides you when you find something that is like that kind of solves that urge, that wish, that you find something that is truthful. I was going to say, Sorry, dude, I've lost my thread because I'm looking at this page while
It's
I'm
all good.
talking.
That's all good, man.
Sorry.
That's my fault. I'm kind of
Yeah, the synchronicity. It's interesting how that happens. I don't really get it, to be honest. People talk about the law of attraction, and you're putting out your intention, and having it returned to you, which is, I suppose, it's fair enough.
I
But
think it's more than that, though. I think it's more than that. I think
yeah, because that infringes on all sorts of ideas, like whether God wants to give you this or that. You know, the idea that you get blessings from God.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? For obedience and all this sort of thing, that sort of mentality.
Right. I told
But
you a story recently about how I prayed to God that I wanted change in my life, and it came. And there was a trade-off, though. You know, I kind of, my best friend, my fishing buddy, I haven't gone fishing with him, but you know, the change came, and it was pretty awesome.
wow, yeah, it does work like that. I mean, there's all sorts of explanations we could give in terms of your spiritual team, you know, behind you. If you're asking for something that's worthwhile, they'll help you sort it out. That's a massive subject.
Yes.
It's a huge subject talking
Did you
about
manage
that.
to find what you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I'm just on the Wikipedia page. I was trying to find some of these numbers. Here's the first one. It says about the wealth of Solomon. According to the Hebrew Bible, the ancient kingdom of Israel gained its highest splendor and wealth during Solomon's reign of 40 years. So some people watching are probably going to be familiar with, you know, some of the stuff we've spoken about before. But the number 40, whenever you see a neat and tidy number like that, you should immediately think of the Hebrew alphabet, especially when it's a Jewish issue. 40 is mem, yeah, the letter M, which means water.
Yeah.
So water, you see, always, this is an esoteric reference, though. The Jewish allegory is always esoteric and mystical. So you immediately go to the Hebrew alphabet, you look at the letter, look at the meaning of the letter. In this case, it's water. And they always use this to refer to the abyss. So the number 40 has a direct association with the abyss. And what you've got here often in Jewish allegory is a repetition of the moment of illumination itself. See, so they'll talk about that. I was trying to find the entry where they talk about 50 men. When he was crowned king, 50 men came to see him. Where is that? I'm trying to find it. It doesn't specifically say that the coronation of Solomon. But yeah, there were 50 men, and 50 is the next number. Next letter in Hebrew, which is the letter N or Nun. And Nun refers to a fish. It means several things, but in this context, it refers to a fish. And of course, the fish is John or Oan in the abyss looking at the light. And that's the moment of illumination. So the number 50 refers to this as well. See, so 40 is the abyss and 50 is the person in the abyss. It's like that.
And the word Nun is in Anunnaki too.
Yeah, Anunnaki. Yeah, that's right. It's part of that.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. The Nu, they used to call the abyss the Nu, and it became synonymous with oceans, you know, physical oceans as well.
Yep.
In association to relate to it, because talking to a regular person about the abyss is an alien concept. You know, how do you introduce that concept to somebody that's beyond what they've known so far? Because going to the spiritual is brand new to anyone. You see, it's completely new. It's a real surprise as well. The abyss. If you were
given a generic interpretation or description of what the abyss is, what is it?
It's no thing. It's nothing. Nothingness itself. It's like the manifestation of nothing.
Right. It's the amatra of the four aspects, right?
It's two completely opposite things at once.
Yeah.
It's nothing, but it's something. It's sort of something in its nothingness, you know.
It's that from which everything is born.
Yeah, right. The womb of Prakriti, as Krishna says in the Gita. That's right.
Oddly, Humanity 30 chimes in with 40 weeks of gestation for a baby.
Right, right. And there you go. There's another association as well.
Yes.
But because we're dealing with kingship here, kingship is specifically highlighting the moment of illumination, because illumination effectively is what creates royalty. And it takes us to the idea of monarchy. And I maybe I should say that there really are two kinds of people on planet Earth, basically. There's the ruling class, and then there's everybody else, which is us. Mm-hmm. So that's what you've got. You've got two classes of people on planet Earth, and it will always be like that. The ruling class come from royalty, which hands down from God, the authority of God, because we're talking about illumination, which comes from God. So royalty is associated with God and the authority of God. Therefore, royalty is the presence of God's authority on Earth, supposedly.
So initially, the monarchy got its start with an illuminate, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
that's right. That's where it comes from. I know people have suggested that it comes up, you know, down through time, through tribal leaders like alpha males. So in the past, you would have had the alpha male, but that's a psychological basis to rule a tribe. That's psychologically based. This is not psychologically based. This is spiritually based. Mm-hmm. It's completely different. It's another level above.
All the other stuff comes from in the symbology of the crown and whatnot.
Yeah, the whole issue with royalty is keeping the lid on metaphysics, because metaphysics is the key to understanding the link between, you know, the lower and the upper class, the ruling class. The ruling class is are those who are privy to metaphysics, the knowledge of metaphysics.
And what are you saying that keeping the lid? What do you mean by that?
Well, if you reveal it to everyone will rise up to the same level. So, and if you want to be a ruling class, you need someone to drive your car. Yeah. Right.
So in actuality, the people that are inherently negative about the monarchy actually are kind of based in some sort of fact truth in a way. I mean, because they feel like they're being suppressed. Is that what you mean?
Not necessarily. I mean, they don't tell you about it because they expect you to want to find out for yourself. So if you really want to know about metaphysics, you can find out about it. They're not exactly hiding it from you. It's actually hidden.
It's right there. It's right there.
It is continuously placed right in front of you all the time, just continuously.
Yes.
But you won't recognize it because there's 100 ways of expressing it, you know, at least.
Right. You know what I mean? It's expressed in our everyday normal lives if you really look for it.
Yeah. It's
in cartoons and movies and everything.
Yeah, movies. The three-act play. The three-act play is metaphysics. That's the basis of metaphysics. Yeah, the introduction of two opposite characters that go through some sort of turmoil and relationship.
There's always a hero.
Yeah, and then they turn out. Then there's resolution in the end, and you get a hero and a villain. Yeah.
And the girl is the light that they get at the end.
So now that we've said that, funnily enough, that's led us straight into what I've got here.
Okay.
I'm just going to go to the right page. Here it is. So there's another thing about Solomon in terms of dealing with demons, right? And he deals with this demon called Asmodeus.
Yep.
And Asmodeus is the idea of the seductress. It's that kind of thing. So anyway, it says a magic ring called the seal. We're going to learn something really interesting here as well that nobody knows. It's so interesting, this stuff, you know, because they just stick it right in front of you. And if you don't realize what you're being told, you'll think it's something completely different.
Right.
So it says a magic ring called the Seal of Solomon was supposedly given to Solomon and gave him power over demons or jinn. The magical symbol said to have been on the Seal of Solomon, which made it efficacious, is often considered to be the Star of David. That's the two interlocked triangles, which represents the union of heaven and earth, which is illumination. See, so the Star of David represents illumination and royalty. It's associated with, of course. Though this emblem, the Star of David, also known as the Shield of David, is known to have been associated with Judaism only as recently as the 11th century, while the five-pointed star or pentagram can be found on jars and other artifacts from Jerusalem dating back to at least the 2nd or 4th centuries, and is more likely to have been the emblem found on the ring used by Solomon to control the demons. That makes sense because an illuminate is also the 5th element. So a pentagram and a hexagram both represent illumination. They're normally associated directly together as the male and female aspects of the individual that have become unified within as well. You see, there's that extension to the male and female of the individual person. But here comes the interesting bit, because there's a little story that's a riddle. And I've never heard anyone translate this riddle properly. Are you ready for this one?
I'm ready.
Are you ready? It says, Asmodeus, king of demons, was one day, according to the classical rabbis, captured by Benaiah using the ring and was forced to remain in Solomon's service. In one tale, Asmodeus brought a man with 2 heads from under the earth to show Solomon. The man, unable to return, married a woman from Jerusalem and had 7 sons, 6 of whom resembled the mother, while one resembled the father in having 2 heads. After their father,
I totally get it, because you told me already.
What is going on here? Yeah, after their father's death, the son with 2 heads claimed 2 shares of the inheritance, arguing that he was 2 men. So Solomon decided that the son with 2 heads was only 1 man. So what do you make of that?
Well, it's the Hermetic principles and then the light.
That's basically true. Yeah, that's basically right. You can't see my screen, can you?
No, but you can share it.
Oh, okay.
Got to hit share screen down there at the bottom.
Oh yeah, okay. Let me just grab up, because I've got loads of things open at the moment. Let me grab this graphics file, and we are looking for something that's quite close to the top.
Oh, and I totally appreciate your time you put into all these graphics and these things you put up, because I didn't understand a lot of it at first, but it's weird how when you keep studying it, it starts ringing bells of, and you can start putting them together. So
yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go to the other one. Sorry. Yeah. So what we've got there is a very weird way of telling us what we're going to have a look at right now. Okay, I'm going to call this up and share the screen. Where are we? Share screen. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Ah, you got it. Okay. Right. So the story we've just heard is graphically portrayed in front of us right now. Okay. This is being recorded, so anyone watching after can pause it, can't they, and have a good look, because it's all you got here is the kingdoms. Along the bottom there, the bottom triangle is 7 kingdoms. From the light in the abyss, from that you get a pulse of light, which is energy, and you get atomic kingdom, the mineral kingdom, vegetable, animal, and the kingdom of rationale. I refer to it as that's us. That's us. We have the rationale to recreate singular nature in our understanding and reproduce that light with God. So the 2 heads is something that people might not be familiar with. In the New Testament and the Gnostic texts, you'll often find that there's a special importance placed on the relationship between Jesus and Judas, as if Judas has secrets that no other apostle can know, which is exactly right, because Judas is the physical aspect of the light that is Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. So you've got one light which is made in ascension or illumination, but on the one hand, it generates a physical pulse which creates the universe from a t equals 0 state, which is the timeless state. There's only one. But personally to you, it's your redeemer, and it redeems you, the person. Mm-hmm. But it's also the creator. So it has these 2 roles at once, and it's both at once. And it's spoken of in these stories, these allegorical stories, as if it's 2 different people. In the
Can
Gospel
I
of Jude.
interject with a question real quick? Something popped into my head when you were talking about the two heads and, you know, the Judas and the Jesus. Could that be like in the double slit experiment, the wave and the particle? Have you ever thought about that or put that together?
Yeah. I mean, in application, you're talking at the level of energy, which is the next step down in the kingdom. That's the second kingdom. We're referring here to the first kingdom simply, right. That the light has a dual quality. It's spiritual and physical, because it's a union of what's spiritual and physical in the first place. It has both qualities at once. Okay. But they register differently, you know.
Right. So I had that thought. Sorry, I interjected.
That's okay. I've actually wrote down a full explanation of the riddle so people can hear it. So I'm just going to read that out.
Okay.
Okay. So if Asmodeus is the king of the demons, this tells us he's like the creator who is indifferent. At the head of the snake of creation, or Ariel the Elderbout is a Gnostic title for the creator. The light as the physical creator, or the devil. That's the devil.
Lucifer.
Yeah, Lucifer's another title for him. Satan, another one, you know. Even though there are other connotations with words like Satan, you can take it to be a certain attitude, is satanic, you know, this sort of thing. There's an expansion of the ideas here, those titles, you know, they're not just simple. The man with two heads under the earth element, that's an earth element. So often when we hear or read the word earth in Jewish texts, they're not referring to the earth you're standing on. They're specifically referring to the material plane. Mm-hmm. So it's a cosmic reference. It's a general reference. It's saying the universe, which is physical. So the man with two heads under the earth element is a way of referring to the light in its dual capacity as creator and redeemer. Everything it makes is dualistic and material as well. Everything that comes from it is dualistic. All the kingdoms are dual. Even the light in the abyss, that's a duality as well. It's a primary duality. Only God is singular above all that. Yeah, everything it makes is dualistic and material, but it lives outside space and time in a frozen, timeless state as the abyss or the underworld, under the element earth or physical nature. It's as if it's underneath it. Unable to return because he has entered the turmoil of incarnation. So you and me, any other person, is considered to be a manifestation of the creator looking for his own redemption, because what he's done is created a blasphemous and wrathful, hot and motion-filled universe that is not quiet and peaceful. See, it's not. It's true. it's not the peace of spirituality, no, which is absolute stillness. So, yes. In comparison, it's a devilish thing. The cosmos is considered to be a devilish creation, you know, because it doesn't go anywhere. It literally goes nowhere. It's almost pointless in and of itself. It's utterly pointless. It's meaningless. The only thing that gives it meaning is spirituality or spirit. Your true nature.
I just anyway, upwelling of satisfaction when you said that, man.
Oh, going on. I've also said unable to return because he's entered the turmoil of incarnation and must get himself out during a life, which means ascending or illuminating from the physical life. He marries a woman from Jerusalem. Means he becomes an angel, since Jerusalem is the abode of peace, or the house of God, Bethel in Hebrew, regenerating the light in the process. So Jerusalem really is a person's head, or the head of an illuminate. That is Jerusalem, the true Jerusalem.
Bethlehem.
Bethlehem, yeah. The house of bread, Bethlehem means, yeah. That's another allegory. Like baking bread, right. Yeah. So
that's one of my favorite ones, where you put two and two together for me, where, you know, how spirit rises in man only through good ingredients and good process.
You accumulate. Yes. You accumulate over time. Yeah. Spiritual prowess is accumulated over time. Yeah. Like waiting for making bread, you know, dough, and waiting for it to prove, and then baking it. The whole process there is an allegory for your process as an initiate, let's say.
Right.
you know.
It's funny you say that because I've been trying to get my daughter. She likes to bake things and she likes to cut corners and put in ingredients that aren't supposed to be in there, and it never turns out right. And so I'm gonna throw this one at her because it's gonna be on my mind now.
Right. So there's a little bit more. 6 of the kingdoms are physically manifest, resembling the physical female nature. So the female in the past can be associated with what's physical as well as with what's spiritual. So it depends on your contextual use of the female idiom, if you see what I mean. I was looking at Joseph Campbell just the other day, and he was expressing that it depends on the cultural idiom. Sometimes a female represents, like Sophia is female, and she represents the light, because the word Sophia means wisdom. So when they're talking in the Gnostic text about Sophia, they're talking about the light itself, and the fact that a person is the one who produces this light with God's help, of course, but they're physical. So what's physical is it being associated with what's female as well in this context. I've already done it. Okay. So yes, 6 of them resemble the mother, the woman. That's because they're all physical, and she's highlighting what's physical.
And the 6 is, you're talking in relation to your graph here, the abyss, energy, atomic, mineral, physical, or vegetable and animal.
Yeah, so you can take the light in the abyss as being male. You can take the abyss as a female womb,
Adam.
but the light is the prominence there, and he's male usually.
And that's Adam and Eve of the Bible.
Adam and Eve, initially, Adam is the light, and Eve is the observer in the state of illumination, because that's the moment of creation as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, so they are Adam and Eve. You become Eve in that sense when you become illuminate. The first kingdom is the primordial duality of metaphysics, the light and the void. The light has 2 heads because it's always the union of dual aspects of energy and spirit. So it's both at once. However, even though the light is dual in its origins, it is still just a single light that happens to do 2 different jobs depending on what surrounds it. And there are only 2 choices where that's concerned: the brain and the abyss. In the brain, it's the redeemer and constant companion. In the abyss, it's a creative principle and lives for a fleeting snap of a moment, just like that, physically. That's all you get from it. That's all that's produced. The creative moment itself is just a flash. See, that's it. There's nothing more. That's what creates the initial pulse of light that generates the cosmos, it turns out. So it's not an eternal presence physically, the light. It's just a fleeting moment that creates an effect.
You're telling me that fleeting moment, that moment is your experience of the moment of creation, the Big Bang.
No, it's your experience of the expansion of the Holy Spirit.
Okay. And
that's illumination.
Not at all related to the Big Bang or the.
It is, yeah, it is. But when you're in that position, you are purely spiritual. So there is nothing physical about the situation that's going to register to you.
Gotcha.
So the creation of the cosmos happens by itself from that moment, immediately from that moment. But you're in that moment, frozen spiritually, and you're there for 10 minutes, and nothing's changed. The light is just sitting there for 10 minutes for you. See, so you're at t=0. You're in the timeless state, and even though it's a timeless state, you're taking time to do things and look at the cloud in different ways, seemingly over time.
And that's this cross light that's in the middle of your graph here, the Savior Creator, in which you're talking about. You've told the story in the past where you got to examine it, and you were like, "Holy hell, what the hell is this thing?" And
yeah, I found it almost everywhere. It becomes the basis of religion, it turns out, and then you think, my God.
And that's the cross atop every church. That's the cross of the Templars. That's the cross everywhere.
That's right. It's absolutely everywhere. You'll see it everywhere. There are local schools and churches near me that have that symbol right at the front. It's on the school. It's even on the school badge of these kids who go to school nearby. It's just a red cross with a white square in the middle.
Right.
And they have no idea what that is. Nobody ever tells them.
The beautiful thing about that is that was one of my very first wanting to know what the cross represented, because it's been there I mean, I put it on my arm when I was a kid
Yeah,
without even knowing why I did it,
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, it's just beautiful how it all works. And when you really want to know the truth, it finds you, and it's there everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to mention, the regalia of kingship that we were
Yes.
talking about earlier, with Solomon, for instance. Like a king, if you see coronations, they've got a bull, a golden bull with a cross sticking out of it, and they hold that to represent dominion, that they have power over they have dominion over their, what do you call that? Their lands,
Their kingdom.
their kingdom, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
and of course they hold basically a stick, but the stick is in the right hand. And it turns out that nobody ever explains this. Yeah, they represent kingship and dominion and Christendom, that this is the leader or the head of state, in association with Christendom. So you have a Christian cross on it, supposedly. But really, nobody knows what you've really got there. That cross is the creator. Imagine turning it so it's horizontal. So I've got the ball here and the cross coming out of it here. That's the creator, and that is the expansion wave of the cosmic expansion of creation. So if you look at paintings of Jesus as the creator, he's holding a compass, which is open, with the one compass arm vertically pointing down, where the point of the compass is the center of an expanding circular thing that's usually painted blue and green to represent life. So it's the expansion of the cosmos or creation. So that dominion thing is saying, I have been to the right hand of God, I am an illuminate. That's the tradition that's being handed down. But it's a monarchy that's set up where you can't always have an illuminate as the reigning monarch, because that is bestowed on somebody by God. You can't.
That was going to be my next question.
You can't book it.
Yeah. Do you think that all of this knowledge was actually known by the Queen before her death? Do you think she was illuminated, or is there no way of you knowing that, or
No, I don't think she was an illuminate. You don't have to be in the royal family. You're simply born
you're part
into
of the
it.
bloodline that started it all?
Yeah, yeah. And the idea is that if the person who illuminated in the first place, if they could do it, then any one of their descendants surely could do it.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? There's a suggestion there that is passed down. The ability to do that is passed down, as it were.
Well,
but I mean,
yeah. Go ahead.
I'm just going to say, I kind of challenged that in my youth, because I was born just as stupid as everybody else. Everyone's born stupid.
right.
We are. That's it.
We are.
And I thought, and I just thought, I'm really stupid. I recognize that I'm just an idiot. I'd like to do something about that. I don't like being stupid. It's not fun.
No.
So I'm from working class background, so I went from that into the sort of heights of intelligence or intelligentsia. I wanted to make myself clever enough to be able to do that. I didn't even realize I needed it as such. It's only now in hindsight that I know what you need it for. It's that second key to heaven that everybody misses. They don't even talk about it. They always talk about the first key. Gurus and people like this, they always talk about the first key to heaven. That's it. That's as far as they go.
The first key is samadhi.
Samadhi, yeah, the sacred trance where you actually encounter your own divine nature, who appears to you as a different person that we refer to as God. But it's you yourself. It's the heights of your own self. There's another interesting idea that's come out of this, is that every somatic center you have, like here you have your intellect, your emotion, your desire, and your sensuality. Any one of those can be expanded by you through your free will choice. And when you expand this one, it expands into the spiritual limitless nature that we associate with God. But people don't realize that, because the modern age, with New Age, there tends to be a focus on not developing your intellect and not learning too much, as if it's not about studying anything. All you got to do is sit and meditate and you'll become spiritual. That's not true. That can't be right. An angel is an intelligent person. So you must be an intelligent person. Otherwise, how can you have a godlike, divine conversation if you've not developed your own intelligence to do that, to get to that level? That's the work that it takes, as it were, to be able to play around with things in your mind and to develop your visual.
That is the great work. That's where the great work is born from.
It is. So to really, the great work is to recognize the truth beyond your automatic nature as well. So you analyze your own nature, you analyze these issues, your intellect, your emotions. Should you control your emotions? Should they be allowed to run away with themselves?
Mhm.
You know, who's in control of what here? You know, is the body in control of you, or are you gaining control over it?
Yes.
If it's automatic, it has no intelligence. It's just a set up system. So it looks intelligent, but if it's automatic, it can't be intelligent. You're the intelligence driving it, supposedly. And then you become described as an observer as opposed to what you observe. And this is a really simple point to make, that what is observed is always energetic. It's always energy or physical. But the observer, being the exact opposite of that, is automatically the opposite in quality. So the opposite quality, according to this idea, the direct opposite is all the spiritual qualities. So energy is in motion, but you, the observer, are perfectly still. It's the same with light. When light goes past you, it's whizzing past you at light speed. But if you move at the speed of light, you're perfectly still. There's no motion, there's no movement at all. It's the complete opposite.
And that's when you're becoming one with it.
Yeah, so that's right. So observer and observed become one and the same thing in the abyss with the light. That's where everything becomes one and the same. And you're seeing that the source of everything that was generated in creation, that one idea, that one thing that becomes a source of all of these allegorical stories in Jewish allegory and mysticism. They're constantly writing about that, but telling you through different personifications, because different illuminates. If you're an illuminate, you become one. Your life is very different to mine, you know? So you might be involved in, I don't know, dealing with the land. You might work with the land. You might deal with forests or cultivating the land and that kind of thing. So your story, if somebody wanted to record the fact that you became an illuminate, they'd write a story that incorporates allegory into those things that you're associated with, as a way of educating people broadly about illumination, because it can come to anyone. See,
I got a question from Code. Does all light spiral?
light spiral. Yeah, basically it does. Yeah, because you've got, I mean, technically, when they break it down, you've got a right, you've got an orthogonal. You've got two oscillations that are orthogonal. That means there's a 90-degree angle between them, but that's specifying the mechanics. It's a very mathematical, mechanical way of looking at it and breaking it down. In reality, light probably corkscrews. Yeah.
And as does the galaxies, as does the
Yeah, it's the same motion
solar
throughout.
system. Yeah.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
DNA strand.
Yeah, same principle.
Pretty awesome.
It's two things going on at once that ends up creating a spiral. Yeah.
That's awesome. I've got a question for you about the Mithric religion. What is it with the knife and the bull?
Right. Very unfortunate that most won't be able to tell you this. In the night sky, you've got the constellation of Taurus, and it's right next to Orion. Mm-hmm. So you've got Orion, Taurus, the Pleiades is in Taurus, you've got the Hyades. You've got what you've got there going through the three belt stars of Orion down to Sirius and back up to the Pleiades. You can draw a straight line through all of those, and that would be Axis Mundi in the sky. It's a way of representing the idea of Axis Mundi, which is the center of all things, which is the place where the light is in the abyss, because that's where the universe comes from, supposedly. That's the center of it.
Yep.
So of course, the creator, the light has that dual quality. It's the redeemer and the creator at the same time. So to represent those two qualities in the night sky, Orion became associated with the Redeemer. That's Jesus Christ. That's the spiritual aspect of the light. But Taurus, being a ferocious beast, is now associated with the Creator and the devil.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So what you're seeing with the man killing the bull, and what we see in Spain even to this day in bullfighting, what they're doing there is recreating the idea of an individual who becomes an illuminate, and they literally overcome their physical nature and gain full control over themselves. That's what that represents. So
That's awesome, dude.
So yeah, so you gain control over what was given to you by the devil.
Yeah.
So your body is handed. Your body is like a gift that the devil has, and it will go to nothing if you don't develop your own sense of yourself. But you are God, as it were, the observer coming into this thing that's been made by the devil. So you have a dichotomy there automatically. You're good and it's bad. In very simple language.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. Cain and Abel.
Yeah, Cain and Abel is another expression of the dual nature of the light. Yep. Cain is the creator, Abel is the redeemer. Yep. It's the same thing, but it comes after Adam and Eve, because what they're doing is taking you around the cycle of kingdoms over and over again to highlight them.
Yeah.
See, they do that a lot. Yeah.
That's awesome. There was another thing I wanted to ask you about the Ark of the Covenant. And, you know, on the ancient alien thing, they're just going around and around about, you know, where the physical ark is and who's got it and yada, 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 yada. What's your opinion on the Ark of the Covenant?
Well, first of all, if anyone wants to read about the reality of the Ark of the Covenant, if they go to my channel and look at some of the most recent videos I've put up, the one advertising the Revelations book has links to my other books, and the Blueprint of the Gods there is the free download version with pages and pages of Ptahhotep's words. And he spends an entire chapter focused on the Ark of the Covenant. And this material knows what it's talking about. So there was a real ark, but it was an ancient way of charging an object. It's basically a capacitor. It's like a capacitor. But they're doing it in an old-fashioned way, and it has to do with how they built things and how they moved things and how they made things heavier or lighter than they really are, with
the use of sound and whatnot, right?
Am I allowed to divulge all this stuff? Because I don't know. This is quite dangerous. You're going into quite dangerous territory, because I could tell you things that would get me killed.
Okay.
Honestly, I could tell you that, and I don't really want to do that, you know, and I don't want to put anyone else in trouble either. It's very, very simple. It's very simple. If you look at the kingdoms, the second kingdom that is applicable to all life in the universe is the kingdom of energy, and all that is the electromagnetic spectrum.
Yep.
See, so ask yourself, how useful is that?
Well, if I would have known that the answer to all my queries was on the face of my fridge when I was a kid, I'd be a lot further off than I was 5 years ago. I'll tell you that. You know what I mean? I mean, I had no idea that a magnet or the magnetic field or the electromagnetic spectrum was as huge to our reality as it is now.
Yeah, and of course the idea of resonant frequency is wholly applicable in this moment. So if you put what I've just said together, you'll probably get it. But it's a question of experimenting as well. You know, you'd have to actually do it.
Yes. Well, that brings me to the AUM of our existence and how that is considered, how you would describe Brahman or Atman.
Yeah, that would be the creation of the universe that's associated with, as if the pulse of creation is like a massive sound. Yeah, because it is motion and sound is motion. You know, see, obviously the oscillation of particles, sound, atoms, or what have you. And in the same sense, you can describe the creation of the universe as Om.
Yeah, and is that the background noise of the microwave background? Is that the sound that
you could associate those together? Yeah, I don't see why not. I don't see why not.
But you
Yeah.
had mentioned all your books. I'll put them in the description of the video after it cycles through and it gets posted on through the live stream after the recording. So I'll put a link to all your books, and which I appreciate. You know, he's got free links to all of his books, but you can buy them too. I've had all the paperback ones, and I've given them a couple of them away to friends because I read them. But they're excellent reads, and you were referencing the Ptah one, and that was an excellent read. That part.
Yeah.
I don't know where you got that from, but
it's actually from a book called Initiation by a lady called Elizabeth H. Spelt Haich, if I remember rightly.
Yeah.
She talks about this, her conversations with this Egyptian priest in the past. So she's recollecting ancient conversations. So it can be argued that it's a waste of time to read. But if you look at the content, it turns out that it's a very powerful read indeed, whoever it comes from, you know, because it doesn't matter after a while who says something, it's what's being said that counts.
Right. You know? And Menza's got a kind of a query. If only a few people manage to reach enlightenment in a lifetime, it just looks like a very inefficient system. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, I have a lot to say about that. An awful lot to say about that. Here's the issue. I mean, this is the issue, isn't it? When I was young, I was looking around thinking, how come everyone's going around doing stuff, but when I ask them what the meaning of life is, they haven't got a clue. So if they don't know why they're here, what the fuck are they doing? What are they doing? What is everybody doing? I was just sitting there thinking, what is everybody doing? Where are they going? What are they getting? What are they getting out of this? Well, what can you get out of life? What's the point? I just didn't understand how come nobody, when I asked an elderly person, I thought they'd know the answer. I thought all of them knew the answer when I was a kid, and I just hadn't gotten around to asking yet. But when I started asking, I realized that no one has a clue about anything. So again, with this, you know, the two different kinds of people in the world, there's the ruling class and everybody else. Who knows what? I mean, knowledge you have to test for yourself, and this stuff you have to prove to yourself. You can only prove the ultimate truth to yourself, and when you do that, nobody else is going to believe you anyway. You know, so it's almost a test of your character afterwards to talk about it. You know,
the truth. But, I mean, yeah, you think you know the truth all day long, and you can't really.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So obviously, when someone has achieved the goal of something, like, let's say this is a goal, illumination. If someone's done that, they're the person to ask about how to do that.
Right.
You see what I mean? Nobody. If someone talks about illumination, they've not actually done it. How do you know what they're saying is valid? And how do they know what they're saying is valid? And why are they saying it if they haven't achieved it? So if they're saying this is how you become an illuminate and they've not done it, how do they know that's true? Where's the proof? You have to prove it to yourself. So that's what I did. And long story short, it is possible. And in hindsight, I can tell you exactly what it takes. And that's what I've been doing by writing this material. That is.
Well, this is the reason why I constantly try to get you on and pick your brain and, you know, and see from your perspective and, you know, try to put two and two together. And, you know, I don't know if it was God's gift to me for you to find me. I don't know what it was, but, you know, I totally appreciate me and you making that connection and you coming on here to explain your side of things. And, you know, I totally, you know, for me, I'll trust every word you say on this because I've not come across another person that has actually described this subject to me in a rational way like you have. So, and I'm not stroking you for an ego.
No. Yeah,
I'm telling you the truth that I totally appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, man. It's nice to hear that because you do wonder whether people understand what you're talking about in the first place. You know, you do your best to, because you're describing something that's beyond what's physical, and to do that, it takes quite a lot. You have to bring it into some sort of rationalization. It must have some sort of conformity. You know, it can't just be wild. And just to add to the recent point there, having done it, gives you the hindsight in what it takes to do it, and you can just tell people, you know, instead of it being a great big mystery that's sort of lost in the mists of time, you know, and all the monarch, the rituals of monarchy, the rituals give away an awful lot of things, like the route that the royal carriage will take through London and end up going down Pall Mall. Of course, Pall Mall represents the right arm of the creator as it comes out towards you, and with Buckingham Palace at the end.
Wait a minute, wait a minute. You're telling me the cigarettes Pall Mall are actually from that reference? Yeah, just kidding.
Cigarettes, no. Well, you could say cigarettes are a bit like that, I suppose. They're cylindrical, like you know, the creator's right arm is cylindrical, even though it's very thin.
Well, and to get to your point about the right arm and the stick in the right hand, it's
that's
just
right.
Like, Harry Potter.
Yeah, that's right. So any reference, like Harry Potter has a wand, and he casts a spell from the end of his wand, like the creator generates the cosmos from the end of his right hand, which is where you appear. So
and that's what the light looks like when you're in the abyss looking at the light, is it's got one of the beams coming at you on the right hand side of it, coming straight at you, right?
Yeah, there's two beams that come out towards you. One of them comes directly at you, and it's on your left, so it's his right arm and right hand.
And that's where righteousness is born.
Yeah, so when you hear references in the New Testament to Jesus saying, "I go to the right hand of the Father," he's talking about the Father of time, the Father of the cosmos, which is the light. So in illumination, you find yourself literally at his right hand, which is a real surprise.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, dude.
Why there? I don't know.
All I know is I got to get my ass to Angkor Wat, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's another point I wanted to make as well, because these things happen to me when I go to these sites. They don't happen to me at home, you know. So if anyone's hoping to become an illuminator sitting in their living room, that might not work, because you need to be in a certain state of relaxation for a start. Like deep relaxation, the kind of relaxation you'd find after a few days of being on a really nice holiday. It's that kind of relaxation you need to be in the first place. And these sites around the world, around the equator, like Angkor Wat, are designed to turn people into angels, designed to put you into samadhi in the first place, so that you can encounter your own divinity. I even find it in the Pantheon in Rome. You can acquire both keys to heaven while sitting in the Pantheon in Rome. If you look up,
you just
honestly,
feel that when you're there.
Sorry, dude.
You just felt that when you were there at the Pantheon.
Yeah, that's one of the special sites.
I remember when you came back from that, how you were just super excited about it, and I could just tell.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I actually found it the only sacred site in Rome. Rome is built around the Pantheon. That's the focal point. That's the axis mundi of Rome, the Pantheon. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm thinking, you know, we hear about Teotihuacan and these great sites around the equator or the equatorial region around the world. They're always associated with turning men into gods.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So that's what they're talking about. They're talking about creating illuminates from initiates. Yeah.
Right. And I wanted to make one other point that you've made before. We're all angels or angles of the same light, right?
Yeah. I mean, technically, you could say you become an angel, but really, you are the divine itself in the first place. And all you're doing is discovering your nature through the physical veil.
Trying to become that hero of your story.
Yeah, but see, by doing that, what you're doing is experiencing everything about your being, which is beyond the individual. See, so you need to experience what's beyond your physical nature, to realize that you are divine in the first place. Yeah, that's what it is. It's about self-realization, realizing that you are the divine itself. Yeah.
Wonderful, brother.
Mm.
Well, hey, man, I totally appreciate you coming on. It's been an hour and 5 minutes, and
thanks, man.
Our conversation has ran its course. And dude, I mean, every time I speak to you, I just light bulbs go bing, 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 and you know, you bring a lot to the table, and I totally appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I'm really happy about that. You know, it's so nice to talk about this stuff, to be honest.
Well, me too. You know, I'm an initiate. I'm not an illuminate yet, but I mean, I've got nobody in my life to talk about this stuff with. Every time I talk to my kids about it, they're like, "Oh yeah, okay, Dad. Yeah, okay." Every time I talk to my wife, "Oh, okay, yeah, okay," you know. So anybody I talk about it, there's a couple of people at bowling that I talk about it with, and I think they're humoring me just to, but maybe there's somebody interested. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many aspects to it. That there are different ways you can talk to people who never heard of it before. You know, I've kind of developed that quite a bit in the last few years, the ability to do that. Not to flood somebody with information, but just to sort of bring up the idea, you know, in terms they can relate to.
That's pretty much what I try to do, is just like bring out the my biggest thing is, like, I named my bowling team recently Thrice Great. Because there's three of us. There's three of us, and I just
Right.
you know what that means, right? That means God. And they go, what?
Yeah.
All right, brother. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. And I appreciate you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you too. Thanks for listening, everyone, and tuning in.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody who's in the chat. I appreciate y'all for showing up, and, love, peace, chicken grease to y'all. All right, bud.
All right.
Here, I'll